In this fifth session of week 8, we will talk about the Hallyu's impact on Korean food among Japanese consumers. The Hallyu was a global phenomenon, and it has a huge impact on the popularity of Korean food everywhere in the world, including in Asia and recently in America and Europe as well. So in Japan, also the Hallyu, of course, had a huge impact on the Japanese consumers' behavior and their ideas about Korean food. And in the 1990s, when Japan was still the second largest economy in the world, the Korean economy was growing very fast, and relatively amicable relationship developed between these two countries. Especially 1990s, it was a great time. The Japanese government issued a series of apologies, quite sincere apologies about the problematic relationship between these two countries because of the colonial history. And each prime minister and even Japanese emperor at that time gave an apology to Koreans and Chinese as well. Nevertheless, sadly, this would not last because of now political interest of various political parties, both in Japan and Korea and also in China. But anyway, 1990s was probably one of the better time in the bilateral relationship between Korea and Japan and China in general. Now, at that time, as I said, top Japanese leaders and emperor issued a series of apologies to its neighboring countries, China and Korea, for their colonial wrongdoings. And increasing number of tourists visited each other's country, and student exchanges and study abroad also increased. And by then, the Japanese government had visa waiver system for Koreans, so Koreans could visit Japan without a visa, and so did the Japanese. So these two countries exchanged a huge number of tourists. And before the COVID, South Koreans were the tourist group in Japan, and almost same as Chinese. And 1 year, I think a few years ago, nearly more than 7 million Koreans visited Japan. So it's just amazing, the huge number of Koreans visiting Japan, especially young generation. So they would understand the Japanese culture, and Japanese people understand the Korean culture better. And in 1998, South Korea government lifted the old ban on Japanese culture, or more precisely Japanese pop culture, which means until 1998, in South Korea, legally importing Japanese popular cultural products, including film, music, and manga, and so on, was illegal. Interesting. Even though outside of this import ban, actually a lot of Japanese animations and music and so on were freely consumed in Korea. And especially for children's TV drama, TV programs, animation programs were 100% Japanese. Anyway, this ban was lifted in 1998, 1 year after the 1997 Asian financial crisis. And at that time, many Koreans, especially people in popular cultural industry, they worried that, oh man, from now on, we will be dominated by Japanese popular culture, Japanese films, Japanese music, and so on and so on. Well, It didn't happen. But on the contrary, within few years, one of the South Korean TV drama, the Winter Sonata or Fuyuno Sonata in Japan, they started to have Hallyu fever in Japan, especially among the middle-aged women in Japan at that time. So it was a good thing to open up South Korean popular cultural the market to Japan, and probably because of that, now Japanese became more accepting and receptive of Korean culture, and immediately this Winter Sonata had a big hit. And after this TV drama, the Japanese tourists, especially middle-aged women, started to visit Korea, and this was a surprising thing at that time. And even Korean media reported about this interesting phenomena that middle-aged Japanese ladies coming to Korea and they are watching other Korean dramas, and including Daejanggeum, which was popular not just in Japan but also even more popular in China. And this Daejanggeum particularly gave an impression to Japanese audience that Korean food is much more than yakiniku, much more than kimchi, and it has a history and it has some depth. So that was Daejanggeum was really played an important role in popularizing Korean food in Japan. And then many people thought that, okay, now this is a fashion, one-time fashion, and it will end. No, there was a second wave Hallyu and third wave Hallyu and so on. And now today the Hallyu is for the next generation. And as a matter of fact, the current Z generation, they were children when their mothers were watching Fuyuno Sonata. And they were the people, many of them, they saw Yon-sama at the airport when he visited Japan because they were on the back of their mothers. Okay? So in a sense, now Hallyu in Japan, it continued from one generation of middle-aged women to the next generation. And today, like in old days, Japanese pop culture, when Japanese pop culture was very popular throughout the whole world, by the way, especially in the West, the Japanese term kawaii was known for everyone. And now that means cute. So typical the Japanese girl's image of being cute was kawaii. Now in Japan, they have a new term for Korean one, and they call it Kankoku boy. Kankoku boy is a Korean style, well, South Korean style. And that represents the next generation's love of things Korean. And now that includes food. So today, Japan is the biggest importer of kimchi from South Korea. And second biggest importer is America. And anyway, and per capita kimchi consumption has been continuously increasing in Japan. And kimchi is sold not only in supermarket, but also in convenience stores. And people also make kimchi at home, and they sell this kimchi sauce, easy. The bottled kimchi sauce I showed you earlier, and that's Japanese no momoya kimchi no moto, like Ajinomoto almost. So you buy this bottle, and it is not real kimchi from South Korean perspective, but it's more simplified version of kimchi, which you can make at home with this momoya kimuchi no moto. And Korean cuisine, such as bibimbap and tteokbokki, are widely known. and also samgyetang, and so on. But recently added items were cheese tteokbokki or bingsu, or the shaved ice, which originated from Japan. Now South Korean bingsu, the bingsu, are gaining massive popularity among Japanese. And now this helped the growth of Shin-Okubo Koreatown in Tokyo, because so many Japanese wanted to taste this food. So Shin-Okubo, I explained to you that Shin-Okubo area near Shinjuku in Tokyo, that area is not for Zainichi, old generation Chinese people, but they are more newcomers. So these newcomers who brought K-pop, and they are prosperous in doing this K-pop business in Shin-Okubo, and where you can taste all kinds of this Korean food, bibimbap and tteokbokki and seolbing, and or also as well. And in the 21st century, and then last decade, the popularity of K-food continued to rise in Japan. Now this image is cheese dakgalbi, okay, which is chicken ribs. I have never seen this food in Korea because I'm not young generation, but anyway, this is one of the most popular Korean food among young generation in Japan. And this is the Shin-Okubo Koreatown in Tokyo, and this is big street and also smaller streets. You see a lot of Korean shops which sells all kinds of K-pop related products, but there are many Korean restaurants where young people can enjoy the K-food. And as I said, this so-called Hankook boy is spreading not just the food, but also home decoration and fashion and cosmetics as well. So in this particular online shops, there are 3 online shops I checked, and they are dealing with all the products possibly that was shown in South Korean TV dramas or films. They all sell the interior designer products to make your home, your room more like a modern Korean. And of course, traditional Korean food such as the bibimbap, still probably the most popular Korean food in Japanese market. The bibimbap is available almost everywhere. And also recently, as elsewhere, the Korean style fried chicken is very popular in Japan as well. And as in American market, Japanese people also love Korean yakinori. Well, this is a roasted kim. And in American market, this is very popular, and Americans eat this as a snack. And so is in Japan. Well, Japanese people, they don't eat particularly as a snack, but they wrap their rice just like Koreans do, and when they eat rice. So this is widely available in Japanese supermarkets and convenience stores, and a lot of Japanese tourists who come to South Korea. This is item that they want to buy. One of the many items that they want to buy from South Korea. Now that includes this yakinori. Okay, in our next session, we will talk about Japanese food also gaining popularity in South Korea among younger generation. Okay, so that was the end of session 5, week 8 on Hallyu and K-food in Japan. And Jungwon, do you have any question or any interesting topic you want to discuss with me today?
Yeah, I actually prepare a topic that I want to discuss with you.
Okay.
So regarding your explanation of Hallyu and K-food in Japan, you mentioned that the growth of Shinokubo Koreatown in Tokyo, where Zainichi and newcomer Koreans established many Korean shops and restaurants, and this place eventually emerged as the center of K-food in Japan, right? Yes, and yes, currently Korean cuisines such as bibimbap, tteokbokki, bingsu, the shaved ice, gained massive popularity within this area, as you explained. However, have you ever heard of the fourth K-wave in Japan?
There have been the waves of the Hallyu.
Yeah, I mean the
Yeah,
generational
that's right.
change.
That's right, generational, yeah. So I believe that today, especially the most recent generation, because the first wave of Hallyu appealed to middle-aged women at that time in early 2000. But now the Hallyu is appealing to younger, newer generation. And I believe many of them, possibly that they were influenced by their mother's generation.
Yeah, definitely.
And they were the one possibly were on their mother's back when Yonsama visited in Japan.
Yeah.
And their mom went to the airport to welcome Yonsama. So maybe they were influenced by their mom. I'm sure that some of them are.
Yeah, that is so true because my hometown is Busan. And when I was young, when I was a kid, there were a wide amounts of Japanese tourists visited Busan to like experience the drama location of 겨울연가, the Yonsama's drama.
That's right.
So yeah, that might be related to the thing that I want to talk with you. So back to the story of fourth K wave. The fourth K wave actually appeared with the emergence of generation MZ. I mean, definitely it might be Gen Z, Gen Z, of Japanese who are the young people born between 1980 and 2005. As the main costumer of Shinokubo Koreatown and the K-food was replaced by the Japanese Gen Z generation, the K-food market in Japan started to undergo many changes.
That's right.
I mean, especially due to the rapid progress in the use of SNS, such as like Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, they have relatively low resistance to the Korean food culture and rather began to accept the Korean food itself. Yeah, so in this situation, according to the Korea Agro Fisheries and Food Trade Corporation's reports, these young generations tend to prefer the original flavor of Korean food.
I see.
So to
rather
the
than Japanized
rather than like localized K food, which are adapted to the typical Japanese palate like before. So in fact, this tendency is also seen in Korean restaurants in the Shinokubo region. Like for example, recently there has been a noticeable increase in the number of direct management Korean restaurants in Koreatown. And the interesting point is that they tend to maintain the original taste of Korean food rather than like make the foods tailored to the local states. So given this situation, I believe K-food doesn't merely depend on the localization strategies anymore, different to the past.
I see.
So within the within this fourth K wave, I personally think the Korean culinary business or industry in Japan should prepare new strategies to walk in step with or target the young Gen Z generation.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. And I think that's why Shinokubo rose recently, because Shinokubo is mainly by newcomers, not the old Zainichi, because old Zainichi people may not be able to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because they are severed from their ethnic homeland already by few generations. But these newcomers have a more fresher memory, and they can communicate with the Korean audience and the younger generation Japanese audience better through the connection of
Yeah.
the K wave. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's the reason why that lots of Gen Z tries to like share their own thoughts and perspectives regarding to the Korea food, especially in Shinokubo throughout the using the SNS such as Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. So that's the reason why that we can like see a lot of contents throughout YouTube, I guess. Yeah.
I see. Okay, good point, Jungwon. So now, turning to our audience, we hope that our conversation at the end of this session 5, week 8 was helpful, and we will see you again in our next session. Thank you.